Assalamu alaikum. This is the English translation of Orya Maqbool Jan's Urdu article. बच्चों को ये तारीख क्यों नहीं पढ़ाई जाती? Before I continue with the article, kindly like and share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Start of the article. Why are our children not taught this history? In my country, the enemies of Islam, the liberal scholars often tell a history that is fabricated and which doesn't have any historical evidence. Then they themselves complain, why are our children not taught this history? In fact, the aim behind their fabricated history is to malign those Muslim heroes who illuminated this world with their knowledge of sciences for 7 long centuries. The knowledge of the Muslims was not limited to the Greek-styled deductive logic, but spread out into physics, chemistry, biology, geography, astronomy, and so on, which were introduced as different subjects. Modern medicine itself was introduced by Abu Ali Sina, and the father of modern algebra and computers is considered to be Al-Khwarizmi, both of whom were Muslims. I have no complaints against the liberals and seculars in my society if they can't bear and talk about the grandeur of the Muslim history. But on the contrary, they show the tyrannical, gangster-like Western heroes in a pleasant manner, who are a black spot on the history of humanity. They even try to prove the supremacy of their civilization and history. One such Western hero that they praise is Christopher Columbus. Born in Spain, Columbus is considered such a great hero that even in a country like America where there are very few days off, 12th October is celebrated every year as Columbus Day. Columbus is also being taught and portrayed in our syllabus in the form of essays as a hero for the last 1 century, whose discovery of America is not considered less than a miracle. But none of these essays tell about that Hispanic commander's stories of atrocities, torture, and open genocide to which the natives of America became victims of. When Columbus anchored at the harbor of the island of Hispaniola on 12th October 1492, the local inhabitants were amazed to see his fleet of ships and welcomed them with open arms. But Columbus, in return for their hospitality, paid them back with the worst form of atrocities ever. His soldiers would snatch away babies from their mothers and crush their skulls and throw the crying and horrified children in front of hungry, vicious dogs that they had brought with them. Women who would be breastfeeding their newborn babies, their breasts would be cut off. Once, in remembrance of Jesus Christ and his 12 disciples, he chose 13 of the local natives and crucified them all. He had written a letter to the King of Spain that there is gold in these newly discovered lands, but it was a lie that he had fabricated. Because of this, he made the natives take in the lands and mountains day and night so that they could find gold and bring it back to him. If any one of them could not succeed in returning with gold, they were sent back home with their hands and noses chopped off and hung around their necks. Women were often sexually molested with swords and daggers and killed off. When Columbus entered the American continent, the population of the natives was approximately 10 million. But within a few years, resulting from open genocides, the population came down to 100,000. Columbus is considered as the father of modern ethnic cleansing, as he was the one who committed such atrocities that nearly wiped out the indigenous population of America off the face of the earth. When America gained independence, It continued with the tradition of open genocide, started by Columbus and carried on with the ethnic cleansing of the natives. It's the same America, which is considered to be the champion of democracy and the standard bearer of human rights. The American children who are taught about the first 7 founders of America, and whom we too have shown as great men in our educational books, starts with George Washington, the first president of America. When George Washington came into power, he started by announcing the Indian policy, according to which all the lands were to be taken away from the natives and divided into small tribal areas. These areas are known as the Red Indian Reservations. When in 1787, George Washington, along with his Secretary of War, Henry Knox, ordered the Red Indians to leave their lands and settle into limited tribal areas, they declined. A conference led by George Washington was concluded, in which he gave his orders with just one word: extirpate, which meant to wipe the Red Indians off the face of the earth. In 1996, about 25 years ago, when I visited the reservation of the Cherokee tribe near Oklahoma, every adult and child knew about the atrocities committed by George Washington and the third President of America, Thomas Jefferson, in such a way that it felt like it happened just yesterday. In 2016, in a small town of Mount Vernon in the state of New York, an exhibition was organized under the title of Lives Bound Together: Slavery at George Washington's Mount Vernon. I was coincidentally near that small town and went to visit that exhibition. I was amazed to see that in a very subtle way, it was shown that behind George Washington's luxurious home, his wealth, and his daily expenses, there were slaves who worked in his plantations, whom he had either bought or kidnapped. Columbus's policy of ethnic cleansing in his newly discovered land of America was given so much importance that when the third President of America, Thomas Jefferson, came into power, he gave a threatening offer to the Red Indians to assimilate themselves into the American way of life, which had been imported from Europe. Otherwise, they would have to face horrible consequences. This offer was named as the assimilation policy. When the Red Indians, who for centuries were following their own culture and civilization, declined the offer, cannons and bullets were rained upon them. When ethnic cleansing of the Red Indians was taking place in the continent of America, in the other part of the world, Lord Lytton in the subcontinent had created the Great Famine of 1876-1878 by sending off and selling grain to Britain and the international market. This resulted in the deaths of approximately 30 million people. These are not fictional stories, but blood-filled historical facts. Unfortunately, the liberal scholars in my country, even after knowing these historical facts, would still say that when we were under subjection, the West was busy making inventions and building universities. None of them would tell these historical facts to our children. In this educational syllabus, to my nation's children, Columbus is shown as a hero and America a great nation. End of the article.